While the drug trade is often framed as a problem of supply and demand, the truth is more complex and intertwined with systems of corruption on both sides of the border. In Mexico, drug cartels exploit systemic weaknesses through bribery and coercion, infiltrating law enforcement and government institutions to maintain their influence. Across the border in the United States, a similar issue unfolds as corruption within sectors like border security and the justice system allows traffickers to move drugs with minimal resistance.
Development in a case linked to Baltimore City Police corruption. A judge just sentenced a drug dealer in the case that launched the government's investigation into the gun trace task force. WJZ investigator Mike Helgren is live at federal court with the emotional sentencing and the significance of this defendant. Mike?
Jessica, a 22-year sentence. His family members wept and pled for mercy before the judge. This is the case that started it all. Police were investigating a string of suburban overdoses. They set up a wiretap. They soon found out that Baltimore City police officers were part of the drug trade.
They framed as a victory in the war on drugs. They convicted Genaro Garcia Luna, Mexico's former top law enforcement official, of taking millions of dollars in bribes from El Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel. Garcia Luna was one of the architects of Mexico's modern drug war, overseeing all federal law enforcement. But the trial revealed that for more than a decade, until he left office in 2012, he was selling information to cartel leaders, enabling them to smuggle tons of drugs across the border. Witnesses testified that federal police officers under Garcia Luna's watch would sometimes unload cocaine shipments for the cartel, or serve as bodyguards for drug bosses. Prosecutors said that the cartel operated during this time like the FedEx of cocaine, shipping tons of drugs in submarines, ships, and planes that landed at Mexico City's international airport.
Every day at America's borders, drugs, weapons, and even people are illegally smuggled into our country. This threatens our national security. Some public servants, sworn to protect our borders, are turning a blind eye and lining their pockets. The FBI's top criminal priority is to take down these corrupt officials. For example, the FBI and task force partners arrested a federal officer who accepted bribes to allow vehicles loaded with people and weapons to cross the border near San Diego. At the airport in Buffalo, the FBI stopped a corrupt officer who helped a drug trafficker bypass security.
The FBI leads 17 border corruption task forces, composed of more than 30 federal, state, and local agencies who work hard to protect the integrity of our borders, ports of entry, and terminals.
But we need your help to win this fight. If you live near, work at, or cross the border, you can be our eyes and ears. When you witness public corruption, don't turn a blind eye. Report it to the FBI.
Report border corruption at tips.fbi.gov.
Tonight, a former U.S. Border Patrol agent is headed to prison after being convicted on drug distribution and bribery charges. CBS 8's Brian White was at the federal courthouse for his sentencing.
The level of betrayal here is a reflection of Mr. Hernandez's greed.
55-year-old Hector Hernandez sentenced to 7 years and 3 months in prison today after admitting he took bribes to smuggle narcotics and people across the U.S.-Mexico border while on duty.
Public servants take an oath, and when we take that oath, we honor it and we stand by it.
Nearly 4 months ago, Hernandez pleaded guilty to receiving bribes and attempted distribution of methamphetamine. He admitted to using his role as a Border Patrol agent to open restricted border fences to allow people to illegally enter the United States in exchange for cash payments of $5,000 per opening.
Later on, he was offered $20,000 to move narcotics. And in that particular instance, he picked up a bag of methamphetamine from the United States-Mexico border and carried it to his residence. After work, he went back to his house, got the methamphetamine, and took it to an undercover agent where he was arrested.
Agents then conducted a search of his Chula Vista home, finding cash and cocaine, which he admitted was for personal use.
They found 7.7 grams of cocaine in a gun box in his closet. And then in various areas of the master bedroom, they located a little over $131,000 of U.S. currency.
He admitted at least $110,000 of that cash was from proceeds he received in connection with his narcotics trafficking and bribery activities.
Each of the stories we've examined paints a vivid picture of how deeply corruption runs in both countries' institutions, allowing the drug trade to flourish. In Mexico, as seen in Vice News' exploration of cartel control, cartels have become embedded in communities, often by paying off local officials and using fear tactics to maintain power. From bribing police to influencing politics, cartels capitalize on weak governance, turning corruption into a vital tool to operate with impunity. In the United States, the drug trade's reach and the issue of corruption is similarly complex. As PBS Frontline shows, traffickers can exploit vulnerabilities in border enforcement and rely on complicit officials to help move drugs across borders. Corruption here creates cracks within law enforcement agencies and within the legal system, allowing drugs to flow in and profits to circulate widely. The result is a shared crisis, where the effects of the drug trade destabilize neighborhoods and fuel violence on both sides of the border. Finally, Al Jazeera's investigative report underscores the cyclical nature of this problem, illustrating how corruption not only fuels the drug trade but also fosters distrust, leaving communities on both sides of the border struggling to achieve real safety and stability. This interconnected system of corruption underscores a need for accountability in both countries. Only by addressing these internal vulnerabilities where profit too often outweighs justice can the United States and Mexico hope to disrupt this ongoing cycle of crime, instability, and suffering.